Hey everyone, welcome back to Bros and Shows. I'm your host, Josiah, aka Mauler67. And with me, as always, I got my buddy, I got my pal, I got my brother Austin. Austin, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, you doing pretty good?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good. Hey, that's
Not
good to
too bad.
hear. Good, make sure you're drinking some water, man. Drinking water
Why?
while you're watching the Bills and so on and so forth.
Well, no, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know sports. You kidding me? I know
yeah,
sports. I just don't watch them.
yeah.
I've never looked into this so much.
Yeah,
Listen, how's your week doing, man? How you doing?
yeah, it's pretty good. Just really basic stuff. College, work,
Mm,
um, getting used to like working less hours actually. Because now since the pay bump that happened in my job, they have cut overtime dramatically, and they've hired people.
that
So,
so that's like a funny thing, right? Because like
mhm,
that's exactly what happened at BNY when they jumped us from $10 to $15 back
mhm,
like years ago. And they're like, don't worry, this ain't gonna affect anything. We're not gonna get rid of people, blah, 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 blah. They didn't get rid of people. They just made the working conditions so much worse because they wouldn't hire new people.
mm,
And they wouldn't call overtime. They would just make you work as far as you can, and then they would make one group do overtime. And then people would leave and they just wouldn't refill out. And then it got to the point that they needed to call overtime, so they started hiring people again. And it's just like, yeah, we get like the second that you increased our pay, you didn't want to hire new people, but you also wanted to let people go. And then
yeah,
that caused the hole, and then you're like, oh crap, we need that many people. We just have to suck it up and pay people. That's how it goes.
yeah. That's usually how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's usually what's been happening. Just trying to get used to like not being, so much overtime, stuff like that. And I was supposed to this weekend. I was supposed to go out to Pittsburgh and celebrate with you your birthday, and we were going to do like a VR experience with your friends.
Hmm.
But then a bunch of snow happened, so
Yeah.
we kind of like went
Dang
away
right,
from
snow happened.
that. I
We
did.
we got hit pretty hard on
Hmm.
Friday, which would have been the
Yep.
night that would day that you would have came, and that was really
Hmm.
bad. My manager let us all go home 2 hours early because of how bad it was. I then
Hmm.
proceeded to go home and download and play Pal World for just the second I got home till 3 in the morning. So hey, I was fine with that. I was like, yeah, no, I enjoy this game a lot,
Yeah.
so I'll play a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't beat that.
Uh, I mean, it sucked that we didn't get to do our thing, but I guess we're
Well,
doing it this weekend.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
yeah, it's
It's okay.
baseball, baby.
It's baseball, baby. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I get it. Like a lot of people are just like, I was a little upset with it. Like I really wanted to do it.
Hmm.
But the thing was like I'd rather not put myself at risk, like at dealing with,
Oh
you
no, for
know,
sure.
any type of like, you know, kind of thing like that. And it sucks because I really wanted to come, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that because my wife would freak. She'd probably be like, no, you're not doing that. I used to do it like back in the day, like me and you. I remember like multiple times where like I would go out and see you,
Hmm.
and then I'd be driving home and then it starts snowing. Get out of control. I remember one time it was like on a Sunday,
Hmm.
and you were in your dorm still at the time. If I'm correct, was it in your dorm? Yeah, it was in your dorm at one time.
Hmm.
And I remember, um, oh shoot, trying to think now. I'm drawing a blank. Um, it was you were still in school, and I remember I had to be home Sunday because I know Monday I was going to be having to go to work, and when I went there, I didn't think anything of it. Um, but I went and it started snowing really bad on Sunday. And I remember like I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a nap, and then by that time, hopefully the snow is done, and then they like blow everything. Then come to find out, like they changed the weather report and they were like, oh yeah, this isn't happening until like it's not ending. What?
Will you please send a picture?
Is that something you could have just texted me? Yeah. Okay. Love you. So, what? Okay, I will. Go. 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 Okay. So yeah, I remember.
Filmed from a live Twitch
Yeah,
audience.
yeah, guys. Remember live Twitch audience. But no, so I remember like having to like power through it and drive home, and it took me usually like the drive from Pittsburgh to Mount Vernon is about 3 hours, and it took me like 5 to get home. I remember like having to stop multiple times because there's a thing called a whiteout where like snow blows everywhere and you
I thought
can't
were
see
about
anything.
To say a wife. There was a thing called a wife, and I was like, the heck? And then
What the heck you
whiteout.
talking about, boy?
That
But
makes
no,
sense.
yeah, so it's I was like, yeah, I really don't want to deal with that. So
No,
I
that's
didn't deal with it
understandable.
at all. So
The funny thing is that on Saturday it started clearing up, and me and my friend Mikey and Brandon, we went to the LARP in Altoona, and all day it was great. The drive there, no issues. Enjoyed hanging out there. Went to Denny's afterwards with the group, and then we drove back home at like 1 in the morning as we're driving back, and it suddenly starts snowing bad, and we're going through the mountains of Altoona, and we can't see the road very well.
Oh,
And the snow starts covering the road pretty bad, and we can't slow down because there is a salt truck right behind us, and we can't find a place to like turn off to like go behind the truck. And so we just go slow, and what normally takes about an hour and 45 minutes to get home, we didn't get home until like 3:30.
oof.
And I'm not even sure if we left at 1 o'clock. I think we may have left a little earlier than that, but it was long, and we had such a long conversation in that car, to the point where we were kind of like, we're just done, we just want to go home and sleep.
I've had those moments.
It was very much a pretty rough and interesting time. But yeah, that's that was what I did on Saturday, outside of getting home on Sunday and playing Power World all day. Been enjoying the crud out of that game, despite the controversies that people are trying to make with the game. They're like, oh, it's too similar to Pokemon, they ripped off the characters or whatnot. And to that I say, grow up, like, who cares?
Yeah.
A lot of the characters I can definitely see were inspired by them, and they very much took design choices of Pokemon, like with certain stylizations. But Pokemon did the same thing too with Dragon Quest. So who's really the initial plagiarist here?
Well, I think what really needs to be standing out with that game is not that they're copying it, but how lackluster Nintendo has been making Pokemon games. Like this is way better than that. And I'm like,
I buy it for my roommate Blake, because he's like, it looks interesting. Thing, whenever he got me and him play for a while, he's like, this is so much better than the Pokemon games that recently came out. And I watched a video of a dude playing the new DLC that just came out for $35. And it's like barren, it's empty, it looks horrible. And then you show this game and you're like, $25. Y'all got gypped, and you guys are just mad because you know you got gypped.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing good about the new Pokemon games. I personally think that Pokemon has I was excited for Sword and Shield. When Violet and Scarlet came out, I was much less excited. to the point where I bought the DLCs and then stopped playing. Like I had no interest.
Mm.
All right, Molly, if you're going to lay down right there, I'm going to move the keyboard. Sorry. But yeah, no, yeah, 100%. I'm like, this game is what everyone wants in a open world Pokemon game. The only difference with this game and everything is, one, they modernize it with weapons, which I love. I think that's a fantastic thing. And two, and this is a big thing, they're not shy about going into the actual thing of what happens in the Pokemon world. They're like, oh, you're basically making slaves of Pokemon. Like, you do realize that in the Pokemon world, there's Nurse Chanseys. They don't get paid. You don't see Chanseys walking around with money. They're just kind of forced to do that thing. You just don't talk about it. Or Mr. Mime, who lives with Ash's family, he ain't getting paid. You don't ever see his mom pay him money, or he goes out and buy stuff. Like, it's the same thing. And then the one best thing that I love that Pal World did, they're like, we're not shy away from you capturing humans. And they specifically say when you capture it, it's like, it's inhumane to do this. Like, you shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. And it's like, that's good to know that you are saying that. I am still going to sell him to the cops for a bunch of money, because this guy is going around murdering people. And you know what I found out recently? And I'm sorry, I'm on a rant about Power Word right now.
Yeah, what's
you
up?
can, when enemies raid your team, like when you fight someone in like a battle where they throw out their own dude, you can straight up yank their Pokemon or Palmon off of them. Something that Pokemon wouldn't do, they can yank it. And you know what's worse? They can do the same to you. I was fighting a dude, I stole his guy, and he throws a ball and steals one of my Caitives. Granted, I didn't care. Like, I'm like, whatever, it was a simple one. But that was a good note. I was like, heck yeah, I like the concept. It's like, I yoink yours, you yoink mine back. Solid. Fantastic. I enjoyed it. Also, upgrade your base from wood to stone as fast as you can, because I had some fire dude kind of like raid my thing, caught one thing on fire, and then the whole place just burned down and destroyed everything. And I was just sitting in a pile of ashes after like 20 hours of play. Just I didn't know what to do, so I just put on some Ted and got to work. Speaking of Ted, Austin, imaginary friends that make bad life decisions. Yep. That's what we watched this week. Ted, the TV show, a show that sprouted from the movie. I said movie initially, but then my brain tried to correct me TV show, and then I mumbled out movie last second. But yeah, TV show based upon the movie. Austin, what'd you think of Ted?
So I actually was the one that initiated watching this show.
Yep.
Because like the thing is I do enjoy some of Seth Rogen's humor.
Seth Rogen?
I mean Seth MacFarlane. Wow.
Oh wow.
But I will say this. I think that this show was better than the movies. I did enjoy the show a lot better than I did like in the movies. And what I was really shocked about is the money that was put forward the show, because it felt like the CGI was a lot better than what Ted was. Because the last Ted movies, I remember the CGI not being so great, but for Ted. But I also liked that they weren't trying to like hide the fact that like, you know, some things that was going on, and you know, Seth MacFarlane is perfect with like his political stuff. Like he wants to like, you know, have certain political things that do come up in a show, and he likes to make fun of certain things. And he did that in Orville. Like he's done that in Orville, and it was really funny because half the people that are in the show is from Orville. You know, I think there was like 2 people that I didn't recognize that were not from Orville. So I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And what's really funny is one of the people that I didn't recognize was right at the end of the show. I was like, wait, I know who that is. Like the guy from Orville. Like it's the funny guy. Like so his dad, funny guy. Ted's dad.
Oh, you didn't recognize the second he showed up, my brain went Orville. That's the that's one guy. I like the dude. And then they also have the principal is also the doctor. And I was like, oh, there he is.
Well, Johnny's from Orville too. He's one of the kids that are on I forget what his name. A lot of them were on Orville, so I enjoyed the show. I thought it was well written. I thought it was well done. I don't think Seth MacFarlane's going to do another season of it. Just how
You
he
don't think
stated.
so? Oh, okay.
No, he stated kind of in a way like the only speculation that he could do to make a season 2 is like you have to meet these certain specs. And I don't know, but it is what it has done with Peacock is it's the biggest show to ever stream on Peacock.
Yeah, it made people get Peacock essentially.
Yeah.
Which
So-
good for them, I guess. But Peacock is also owned by NBC, and like, I hate cable companies.
Well,
There's going to
everything.
be a point, right? The cable company's goals right now, and this is my
Mhm.
honest belief, the cable company's goals, like cable companies in the form of like Peacock, NBC, AB, like whatever they are, all name whatever you want. Their goal is to get their streaming services
Mhm.
up and running and get people to subscribe to them. And then what you do is you cancel it with the cable providers and make it that, hey, your cable providers is now just a Roku box that you pay for, and they give you accounts for everything you pay for. And that's their goal, because a lot of these stupid SAG after strike things that were put into the law do not include streaming services stuff.
Mhm.
And that's kind of universal. Like they made a lot of progress to get that fixed, which is good, solid, and I'm very happy that they did that. But there's a lot of loopholes with streaming service when it comes to not the ingrained stuff that they have for television and movies.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're very much trying to get everything on board with that to really like milk as much money that they can. And let's be honest, everyone's getting real fed up with streaming services and
Yep.
are
it
heading
is.
out, you know.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people are getting sick and tired of streaming services. Also getting sick and tired of certain companies that are taking things that they buy digitally and then removing them. Like PlayStation Sony just got in trouble with that. Like I think a month ago, where they like got rid of like I think over 500 movies that they just didn't want to support on their thing. And then like
Yep.
people are like, well, what happens if we
HBO
purchase
did
it?
that. I think who was it who just said recently a really dumb comment? I think it's Ubisoft. Was it Ubisoft? Someone said like gamers just have to get used to the idea of not owning
Rockstar.
what- It was Rockstar. No, it wasn't
was-
Rockstar.
So no, Rockstar, the stupid thing that he said was the CEO said, you might want to get used to subscription gaming because it's going to be a thing. You're going to have to pay for games
not-
that are like longer. But
No, I
yeah.
thought that was Ubisoft who did that.
Mm,
Someone like a CEO from like Ubisoft said like get used to subscription things because that's how everything's going to be from now on. You just get used to not owning your stuff essentially.
yeah.
Which instantly got everyone like at his throat.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, we won't do that. That's what we basically do with Steam as of now. Just
Yeah.
Steam has not done anything that makes us feel like we don't have it.
Mhm.
Also, to be fair, the second Steam makes you like that, make it that they will remove games and whatnot willy-nilly without any thing, you will have those people who will buy it on Steam, download it, jailbreak it, so that way you don't have to pay anything, and then just upload it for
Torrent it.
people to play.
Yeah.
Like
Torrent,
that's
yeah.
it's going to happen if people force that, and that's a recurrent thing. But anyways, that's all outside of the point, right? We're talking about Ted, which to be fair, Ted would be very much on point with that conversation. He would be all for that because Ted's a little hooligan. But awesome. Can I be honest about my feelings on the show?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's okay. I have no issue with it. It reminds me of the first movie. I only watched the first movie. I wasn't huge on the humor of Ted in the first movie. It was very much like sex oriented with a bear.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just weird. And they still do it a little bit with the show, but it's much more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
You know my honest thought. The second I saw the dad and went, he's from the Orville. Dang, we got season of Ted instead of a new season of Orville.
Yeah.
And that made me actually kind of upset at Ted. Because I'm like, Seth MacFarlane's doing this. He's getting paid for it. He's getting his friends like acting jobs and whatnot. And I'm like, great, good for them. I'm happy that they are.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh dang, I just want more Orville. Like I feel
Oh
like
no,
I feel
everyone
like we
does.
traded a like S tier show for like a B ranked show, and for that sheer reason, I was not as much of a fan of Ted. Like I wasn't a fan of Ted to begin with, but this was a fine show. Like it was solid. If you're a fan of Ted, you'll love this show. You absolutely will.
Mhm.
You're a fan of Seth MacFarlane humor, you will like this show. Unless you're the group of like right-winged people living in Ohio or other like backwater places that liked Family Guy because of their
Cruel
racial
humor
jokes and
just-
whatnot.
Yeah.
This show will have some of those, but they'll also be called out on the spot for it.
Yes.
Which, to be fair, that's fine. I get the reason why they did it. I mean, it's still kind of like the idea of like you're still doing those jokes, but you think because you call out, don't you dare bite that cord, because you call it out, that makes it okay. It's like you're still doing those jokes, you know, like you're still trying to make that a punchline, but they at least do it semi tactful in this. Where what in the movie, I don't think they would have. Like they were a lot less.
Yeah, and the thing is like I think there was some moments in this show that were a lot better than what I expected. I didn't expect too much from the show. I was just like, you know what, we'll watch it. I did enjoy the first two movies. I thought those were good. But the thing is with Family Guy though is like out of the realm of just sometimes Family Guy just gets old. Like the characters get old and like they're one-liners and like you're like, this person's stupid. This person does a catch line. This one's the token character that everyone's upset about, you know? And you're like,
which is also weird because I don't really feel that way about like The Simpsons. I only feel that way about Family Guy.
yeah.
I don't know why that is. Like,
Well,
they're
it's
basically
because the
same
humor is
dynamics.
targeted. Well, the humor is targeted through race and like certain characters. Like that's how that works. Like because Apu, they don't make fun of him. You know, they someone might make fun of him for being Indian, but they're not gonna like. That's not his whole gist. Is
They made fun of it back in the day, but not.
Yeah, and so, you know, like that's the thing. Like I enjoyed this series because I thought there was some great humor. There was some goofy stuff that I just rolled my eyes to, like the whole apple pie thing. I wasn't really a fan of that because it's like, hey, you know, it's probably cooled off, you know, and then it starts a fire. I was like, okay, that's goofy. But there was some really good parts in this show that I really liked, and you know, there was a line in the show that actually made me like bust out laughing because it was like one of those quick one-liners that like Ted does. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, I'm actually going to probably use that from time to time just because of the joke. I also liked the dynamic that they had with the show where it was like how characters talk to each other. It was more of like you had these set characters, but they tried to learn from what their problems are or what's going on. Like, you know, like the instance with Johnny and Ted when he was trying to date that girl. And you know, he's like, oh yeah, he slept with all those women and stuff. It's like, no, that's not how you approach it. You should be yourself. And I think, and then like also, you know, you might not like what people do because you don't believe in it, but that doesn't mean that you have to like completely make them not be wanted in a family setting because you don't like what they do. You know, so I think there was a lot of lessons and a lot of people growing in this show, and that's what I really enjoyed about the show. But I think also too is there might be a problem if they continue because the movies are gonna the movies aren't gonna make sense in a way. I don't know how they're gonna make those movies that sense because that humor is a different time, and now this is a different time because you can tell the humor that's in the movies. You know, it wasn't like in the wake of like what's going on with comedy now. You know, so that comedy that's going on now is in the wake of what's going on now, not the comedy that came before those two movies that are based because Ted the series is a prequel, so like that's the thing like I'm looking at. But I did the other thing that I'm starting to like too is and you have made me this way, and that is I'm starting to like 30-minute shows. I'm not really into the 45-minute thing because what was it? I think the first episode this season was like 50 minutes.
Yeah, it was 50
And
minutes.
then
It was
and then after that it
noticeable.
was a half an hour. You know, and
Well,
that was it.
they were all pretty much like 38 minutes. So about the episodes, in my opinion, they were created for TV.
Yeah.
Because when you have a run of like 50 minutes, that's a weird runtime. That's
Mhm.
a hour TV show with 10 minutes of commercials in it.
Yeah.
And then the 39-minute runtime for almost every episode is because they have an additional 10 to
Mhm.
20 minutes of additional runtime. And so I'm like, that's basically what, in my opinion, it was. There was noticeable black cutaways where it's like, commercial here.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I mean I like 30-minute shows. It's nice because you get a little more normally you get some more bang for your buck per episode.
Mhm.
Not that 40-minute shows can't do it, just 40-minute shows tend to be more like, in my opinion, more artistically inclined, like they're trying to like set mood and ambience and everything. Why 30-minute shows are much more like, we're telling a story.
Mhm.
We want the story to get across.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely get that from things that I watch.
Well, these were episodic. Like these episodes, you could like watch any of the episodes, and you would still, you know, when you know
Though there
there's
is
some
progression though.
There
there
is
is.
progression, but it's not like a lot.
Yeah.
To a point where you're like, oh my gosh, because like my favorite episode that the first season was actually the part where Ted goes was it the daughter, or no, not the daughter, his cousin needs to like have a DD, and so
Mhm.
Ted decides to DD with her, and then they end up like at the teacher's house.
Oh yeah.
My favorite episode, and is my favorite quote now, is like, you know, when they go to leave and it's like, you know, to leave it's like this, and then the other one's like, to leave is never saying goodbye, and then Ted's like, as Hemingway once said, what flavor is this gun? I lost it because I like that dark humor, but I was like, that's funny, you know. And constant Star Wars references. There was like a couple in there that I saw, you know, like the Ewok, the Yoda backpack thing. You know, it's funny, like some of the pop culture that they bring up in like a show like this. I don't know, it hits me because I'm a millennial that likes that crap. So I'm like, you know what? That's yeah, you know, I like it. You know, it like hits my little nostalgia bone, and that's what I think is funny. And then they make fun of it, or they try to explain it. There was some pretty controversial stuff though that they did talk about in the show. You know, like the whole truck episode where the truck comes alive is very controversial, because you know we had, you know, Ted thinking he was Jesus, and then also the truck being like really racist in a way, kind of like sexist, racist, and kind of like his dad, but completely misunderstood. Like he just didn't want to. He was raised a certain way, and that's how it was. But yeah, I agree with you though. I can understand where some people won't like this kind of humor anymore, and I get it. Like, it's not something that I'm going to like. It takes like a certain person to like that kind of humor, and you like improv comedy, you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do.
For me, I do like dark, cruel humor sometimes, and it's just a fun watch. That's all I want. I don't really want a complicated story.
Here's my thing though. I agree with you about the whole dark humor. I like dark humor too. I am also one of those people that the dark humor has to be tasteful, right? it like that's also really like it's not hypocritical, but there's a term for it where it's like that doesn't make sense. That's a paradox. The idea of tasteful dark humor. And what I mean by that is like a lot of times when like movies and shows that are like not very good do dark humor, it's a lot of time at the expense of individuals or people who can't like who don't get good things naturally, and so it just kind of like puts them down. And that's where I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever, I get. But when the dark humor is much more on the coattails of hey, remember this bad thing that happened? We make reference to it. Joke. Like, fine. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of shows I watch that try to do dark humor, and you're like, I get what they're going for. I don't think that joke was all that good. Maybe I'm just like, I have a different taste, is all. Not like dark humor is all. Which,
Or
to be
sometimes
fair,
you
that's
just-
how life is.
Or you just grow out of that humor in a way, because like the thing is like I know some people that just grow out of that kind of humor.
I don't know, Austin. We still send those TikToks that involve New York. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but stop. No, say when you don't make sure that if I say anything about Vietnam, just
Mhm.
yell something,
Yeah.
whistle. But no, it's just a different thing that like people grow out of certain things, and I totally understand. And I think humor is the only thing that like I really have grown out of. Sometimes there is some things that I thought was really funny that I'll go back and watch now, and I'm like, I don't know why I thought that was funny at all. And then there's things that like I didn't like that I like now that I really think is humorous, and then some things that just stay, like I still watch Robot Chicken from time to time. I still watch certain shows from time to time, but then there's also shows that I watch where I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, why was I watching this? And it could just be drug experience, but yeah, and I totally understand when I actually offered to watch this show with you, like I was like, hey, we should watch Ted. It was just brand new, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But also too is I was looking forward to what Seth MacFarlane was up to.
Mm-hmm.
But I do enjoy the Ted films, so I was like, you know what, it could be something that could just hit our funny bones. You never know. So I didn't expect too much from it. I liked it more than I thought I would, because I was like, usually when shows like take too long and then try to do a prequel to something like this, it can ruin it. Or it could be like a sequel that could ruin it. Like, I remember, like a couple, I used to like that show, That 70s Show. And then they tried to do a sequel called That 90s Show. Well, it was That 80s Show and then That 90s Show. And 80s Show like was terrible. And then 90s Show came out on Netflix like last year. And a lot of people liked it. But then I started watching it and I was like, this is cringe. Like really cringy, like.
To be fair, that's what the 90s was, though.
Yeah. Well, no, it was like cringe, like people trying to force the same characters into situations that were the same thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this anymore. With Ted, though, it didn't feel like that to me. Like it felt like a new story that was kind of like, you knew who the two kids, you knew who Ted and Johnny was, but you didn't like, it didn't feel like they were trying to force the same humor. They didn't try to like use the same jokes multiple times. There was like one joke I remember that they kind of reused with like Ted on the couch with those girls. I was like, oh, that's from Ted 1. But everything after that, and then the Thunder reference, Thunder Buddies or whatever. They didn't milk it as much because that's what I think ruins it a lot. I'll be cringy when like things make a callback to make a callback, and that's what they rely on you to laugh at. Then I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah.
But I was kind of pleasantly surprised as I like Ted, that this was a show that I was like, okay, I could watch this a couple times. Like it's something I can put on, and watch. So, I liked it. But
That's good. I
It's over.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. It's not a show that I definitely would have been drawn to naturally, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad you did bring it up. Because it was a fine watch, and I do really like the guy who plays the dad. I don't know if I like this character all that much, because the dad was the ignorant father figure who was super like toxic masculinity. The mom was also a like super toxic like church girl kind of vibes. The cousin, I almost said stepsister, but the cousin was, from the get-go, I was like, okay, this is going to be the like over the top, not even over the top, just I do find it funny, right? I was like, this is going to be the over the top liberal of the show, and she's going to be the one butting heads a lot of time. 100% right on that. But I was the thing that made me laugh and enjoy her character so much is that she is not over the top. She is fun. She would fit in with all my friends nowadays.
Yeah.
And she would be viewed as like very like moderate with her opinions on things, right? But at that time, super liberal, and it made me laugh. Like when she's like, I'm a lesbian. You don't think lesbians deserve to be like married or whatnot? And I'm just like, man, I can't think of anyone who would be against that other than like crazy right-wing people. And then it's like, oh, women should only be in the kitchen type deal thing. And I'm just like, no one thinks that anymore. And then like the whole like, you have 2 women on the Supreme Court, be thankful. And the mom just passively says 2 out of 9 is pretty good. I'm like, she's so defeated.
Yeah.
She's the definition of like her time.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It made me laugh. The one continuous joke that they did throughout the series that I actually really enjoyed is whenever they would break the fourth wall, but basically saying like, yeah, it's not like this would ever happen type deal thing. Because there was a couple times that happened. I'm trying to think when OJ, no, not OJ, when the dad's on the couch watching and Bill Cosby comes on and he says like, he's like, man, why can't I be like Bill Cosby? He never has girls going mad at him. He has everything great. And then now that we know what happened, and he's in jail, it's just like, that's obviously like a joke at that. Or like, there was one time with like Ted where he talks about like, whenever they were talking about porn or whatnot, he's like, I'm never going to do it, even if there's some type of magical device that I can pull out on my phone that has every porn I've ever wanted on. It's like they're making jokes at a phone, and how that's now like a super, that's actually a thing that like a phone allows someone to do that at any time they want. And that was a recurring thing that I did enjoy. I liked that like kind of tie-in humor, because it's obviously a wink to the cast, and they do it in a way that isn't super cringy, where they like use how old the series is to like do jokes. There's only one joke that I felt like they did that on, and that's the Walkman joke at the end of the Christmas episode.
Oh yeah.
The Home Alone Walkman thing, which the second I saw that, I'm like, that's a nostalgia bait. They include that in the show, this episode, or in the show, to like be like, remember the Walkman? LOL. Let's show off what everyone did with it, and it's just say dumb things into it, and then it's like, now I won't forget. It's like,
yeah, we have a mixtape somewhere.
We didn't use that for that though.
Yeah.
We used a, well, you did, but we used a, I think it was like an old jukebox or whatnot that we had that we recorded off of, because it had a microphone, and gosh dang was that. Yeah, that was cringy. Classic. Yeah, that was cringy.
Cringe.
But there's still one thing from that tape that I think about all the time that makes me laugh, and that's the rolling, keep those prices rolling, roll back, and then Stevie just jumps in out of nowhere. I jump at Walmart because I'm poor, and it just kills me because I laughed because we were that. We were just the poor kids shopping at Walmart.
Yeah.
And I just remember that kills me every time I think about it. That was the best joke on there. And he said that so quickly without words. Like, he should have been comedy. I don't know what he's doing now, but he should have been comedy.
I think he's a music promoter.
Oh,
actually.
heck yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was gonna say I just saw him at the fair, the Lonville Fair. Him and his dad and his mom and the girl that he was dating since high school. Like they're married and stuff and have 2 kids. And so like it was cool. It was cool to see him. Like I talked to him for a while and he was like, "Oh man, it's been a long time. How you been?" I was like, "I'm doing pretty good." He's like, "Good." So
I think the last time I saw him, that I remember talking to him for a bit, was at my like sophomore year, like a dance that his then girlfriend at the time
Alicia
went to.
Alicia Agustin.
And she was like a senior at that time, and he went to the dance with her. And I remember seeing him just being like, "Oh dang, I would ever see you again." I thought once people graduate, they were gone forever. They were smart enough to run away from Lonville. And some people were, and some people weren't. And then there's some people who get magically transported back to do a Hell's Kitchen in a magical castle.
Stop it.
Yeah, you're right. It was Hotel Hell. My bad.
Yep.
I tell people about that all the time. Like, you want to see where I grew up at? Watch this episode. Everything that's bad in that episode, that's just my town. Let's not dive into it too much. Yeah. All right, Austin. Well, do you have anything you want to say about Ted? Like any final things? Thoughts?
No, not really.
Actions?
It was something that I enjoyed. Like it was fun, and I'll probably watch it as like background noise sometime. But the problem is like you have to find something on Peacock for me to like want to pull up Peacock. So that's and the only thing that I pull up really Peacock for is like 2 things. It's Chucky, the series, and then football. Because sometimes Peacock plays like certain football games on Mondays and Sundays, like Monday nights or Sunday nights. And that's it.
You know what made me laugh? Whenever you said Ted, I was like, "Oh, okay. What stream service is on?" You're like Peacock. It took me a solid minute to realize what you said because my brain's just like Hulu. Yeah, Hulu. Wait, why is Ted not on Hulu? Like that's legitly what happened. Whenever I was looking up, and then like I messaged him like, "What is this on?" You're like, "Peacock." And I was like, "The heck? What's even on Peacock?" And then I realized The Office is on Peacock. I'm like, "Oh, that's their claim to fame." They took that off of like their like Netflix and whatnot, use it to promote their own thing.
Well, they had that, and then they had like the 2 things that they did that really started doing it, and I don't know because it probably changed, was also wrestling. Because when the WWE network like collapsed, it became Peacock, so you could watch like all the cool WWF like stuff. Like I go back and watch like old wrestling matches and stuff that I used to watch when I was a kid.
I see them all the time on TikTok, and like I'll start watching them, and then my brain will be like, "Why am I watching this? I don't care." Like but I remember liking wrestling growing up, but I definitely remember only liking it because you guys liked it. I never cared for it. I selected one person, and when that's my favorite person when it came to Kane. I'm like, that's my favorite person. And now that I'm older, I'm like, gosh dang, why did I pick that character? Yeah, he was cool back then. He's horrible now. Like he's
as a real person,
100% opposite of what I am now. Yeah. And I'm like, why him? Why did I select him? Was it because of the cool mask? Yes, it was 100% because of the cool mask, and I'm willing to say it. Like he had a cool mask growing up. And I remember being like absolutely in awe whenever they removed the mask and the hair was part of the mask, and I was like, the heck? As a kid, I thought he got his head shaved as he was pulling it. Like the guy pulled the mask off so much that it ripped his hair out. And then I realized, oh no, that was oh man. Farce. Anyways, yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I got you.
My final thing I will say about Ted before we head on out is the kid who played Johnny, or whatever the kid's name. Yeah. Did a fantastic job. There was multiple times where he spoke where I was like, that straight up sound like the Wahlberg brother.
Yeah.
That straight up sound like
Marky Mac.
Mark, yeah, it straight up sound like him. I was like, that's crazy. Also, anytime they said Wicked, I was like, They did a good, yeah, they did a good job of making me feel about that character. But
Mhm.
all right, Austin, that does it for our show. Austin, next week we're doing a show that's going to be a little different, and I'm saying this for everyone watching because up to this point we've been doing TV shows in TV-based formats. However, Austin will guarantee this and agree to this. I am a huge fan of a subscription service known as Dropout. It is a improv comedy streaming service, and for a lot of people who may know about it, is what College Humor became, Samurai and whatnot. They're like big shows is like Game Changer and Actually and Dimension 20.
Yep.
A lot of their shows are not super palatable for what we do here. Like, I would love to sit and talk about Game Changer for like episode, because just fantastic, but that doesn't really fit what we do. Like, we're not a like a game show. Like, we don't do that. We just watch movies that TV shows that we like, and then we talk about it. That's it.
Mhm.
But we could do it if we really wanted to, but it's a little hard to like do. But me and Austin kind of found a loophole. I kind of threw it up to him. He said he was willing, so we're going to do it. The show we're going to watch next week is called Misfits and Magic. It is part of their Dimension 20, which is a D&D / tabletop show. The reason why I'm warning is because each episode is about 2 hours long. And to anyone who doesn't have the attention span of 2 hours, that's a long time. But here's the great thing. It's not like animated or anything. It's just people playing D&D, which I think for this one, it was Kids on Brooms or Kids on Bikes, which is a stylization of it. Because this show is referencing basically Harry Potter, like what it is. But because the Dropout is very like left-leaning individuals, they very much trash on and joke about J.K. Rowling, which no one really likes her anymore unless you're like in that same sphere as her. I don't. And so I very much enjoyed this episode. And it has fantastic cast. I love them all. I enjoyed it. I would love to do Never After on the show sometime, but the issue is just Never After is too many episodes. This only has 6 episodes, and they're only 2 hours each. You can watch it, and the best part is because it's all like theater of the mind. And yes, there's a show you can watch with it, and I do recommend it. You can also watch it via audio form, and they have it on audio form that you can listen to. And so that's what we're going to be watching next week is Misfits and Magic. I very much want to do it. We can talk about tabletops, Dungeons & Dragons, things in general, because these were all put together for it. But if you like Harry Potter, if you like magic and wizards stuff, definitely watch it, because a quick rundown, it's just, what if a couple Americans were let into Hogwarts, basically? And gosh dang it, it's great. It's funny. I'm a huge fan of Lou Wilson, so definitely watch it. So thank you, Austin, for joining us on this episode. We'll see you guys next week when we do that episode. But until then, thank you all so much for stopping by, and thank you all so much for tuning in.